too much. So a lot of women just aren't even having kids anymore. I'm sure you've looked at birth rates.
Yeah, it's kind of
bad
weird.
They are.
It's weird that no one's talking about it. And there was always this narrative about overpopulation.
Yes.
And it's only been over the last decade or so that people start talking about population collapse and the catastrophic impacts of that, particularly on some foreign countries like South Korea, Japan. Yes. They do not have a replacement rate.
Right. There won't be a South Korea in the near future if something radical doesn't happen over there. But this is, there's a whole nother chapter in the book dedicated to this whole thing and where this came from, the Malthusian population agenda. Margaret Sanger gave me nightmares writing the chapter about her. I literally had nightmares about her because she was so evil. Like, it's hard to, everybody's heard what she said about black people by now. Most people have heard that.
What did she say?
Oh, that they're the lowest of the low and we just need to get rid of them. That it would be best for humanity if we could just convince all of the lower races to just stop breeding. So Planned Parenthood on purpose focused on African American and indigenous communities and poor whites too. But she was part of the Rockefeller Bureau for Social Hygiene. It was a eugenics program, and Planned Parenthood was a eugenics program, and she was so antinatalist. You can find clips of her on the internet now where they would interview her on the radio and she'd say, if it were up to me, nobody would ever have babies anymore. We just would stop having them because life is terrible and life is hard and it's suffering, and bringing children in the world is a terrible thing. Especially, she said, this is a famous quote of hers, the most kind thing a large family can do to one of its young members is to kill it. And her whole shtick was sold on lies. She told lies about her mother. She said that her mother died from overbreeding, that she had so many children, it just destroyed her body and she died. Not true. Her mom had tuberculosis and died from tuberculosis like half of everyone back then. So she lied about that. She told a fake story about a woman named Sadie Sachs who didn't know how she kept getting pregnant and the doctor refused to tell her because the bad male doctors just wanted the women to just keep having babies, so they refused to tell them how that worked. Which I went and asked my grandma. I'm like, Grandma, you were around like in this exact time period. Did you and your mom like not know how babies were made? And she was like, what are you talking about? Of course we knew that. In fact, she said after my sister was born, her younger sister was the fourth kid in the family, the doctor told my parents, like, you guys need to be careful, like time things and like try it. Because it's, she had some health problems. And he's like, another baby might be risky. So if you want to avoid that, here's how you avoid that. She's like, of course we knew.
People have known that since the beginning of time.
Of course they have. But she wrote a whole book that purported to have thousands of letters from women around the world writing to Margaret Sanger saying, I'm only 23 and I'm on my 14th baby. I'm not kidding. The numbers were insane. She was alleging that there were 23-year-olds who were on like their 11th pregnancy and dying from overbirth, and that they just didn't know how to stop it. And so she was like, this is why we need abortion clinics, is for this reason. Now, I looked into this because there's something called the Margaret Sanger Papers Project. They have everything she's ever done. If she wiped her mouth on a napkin, they've got that in the archives. They have everything. Do you think out of the thousands of letters she said that she got from women saying, I just can't stop having all these babies and it's killing me and I'm miserable, how many do you think are preserved in the Margaret Sanger Papers Project?
How many? 0?
3.
3?
3. Out of thousands. And I emailed them directly and I asked, seems weird. You guys have like literally letters that she wrote to her friends. You have like all this documentation on everything she ever did. Certainly if she was getting thousands of letters, you've got more than 3. And they said, well, we think it was mostly lost to time, or she sent them to abortion doctors to encourage them to keep going because, people didn't like abortion doctors. So we think she sent it to a lot of abortion doctors to like, give them a pep talk. And we just don't really know. It's just lost to time.
So you think she made a lot of it
Oh,
up?
yes.
Yeah.
Especially because if you read the book, nobody reads this crap, except me. I'm crazy. Nobody else wants to read all of their horrible writing. But in the book, if you're reading these letters, they sound literally like they're all written by the same person. So it's extremely dubious at best. I would love if the Margaret Sanger Papers Project folks want to come and tell me like where all these are, or if there's any proof of this, I would love to see it, because I looked for 2.5 years and couldn't find anything. In fact, the most popular Sanger biographer in the world, who like knows everything about her, admits that she lied about tons of stuff. She's like, oh, she lied about the Sadie Sachs story. She lied about why her mother really died. And she probably lied about, those other stories and letters too. But she believed it was for a noble cause. She thought what she was doing was good. And the other big secret is she was getting a lot of money. She was getting paid by the Rockefeller Foundation and promoted by people like H.G. Wells, who she was also having an affair with. They're all a bunch of creepers, Joe, I'm telling you. It
sounded like it. She sounded like an insane person in the book.
Yeah. She was married and had 3 kids. She left her kids in like hippie bohemian communities. One of them died from neglect in one of these communities. Didn't care about her kids at all. In fact, one of her sons grew up and said, my sister would not be dead if my mother gave any shits about us whatsoever, but she didn't. She was anywhere except where we were. Any excuse to leave. She let her ex-husband take the rap for her distributing illegal stuff about like abortion and birth control. That the Comstock laws didn't allow that back then. So she was wanted in court and was going to be put in jail for distributing that stuff. She let her husband take the fall for it while she went to England and had affairs with people like H.G. Wells and Havelock Ellis, and they were all bisexual, and they were all occultists and doing all this crazy stuff. But H.G. Wells called her the most incredible woman ever to live and said that she was going to have more impact on the future of humanity than any other person.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. When you want to train your dog, you don't want just any rando off the streets who likes animals. You want someone with the skills to get your pet where you want them to be. Someone who can help you help them. So why wouldn't you do the same when it comes to hiring for your business? Skill-based hiring is the thing to do right now, and a good way to go about that is ZipRecruiter, especially since you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com. ZipRecruiter can help you find the perfect match for your role. Their smart matching technology works fast to find candidates, while screening questions help ensure you find quality talent with the skills you're looking for. It even has filters you can use to see who's been recently active on the site. Let ZipRecruiter help you find amazing candidates with the skills you seek. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Why do you think he thought that?
Because he was a eugenicist who loved the idea of millions of abortions a year.
H.G. Wells, the War of the Worlds guy, was a eugenicist.
Yep. You should have Jay Dyer on to tell you about H.G. Wells. I brought you his book.
I don't want to know. I love the War of the Worlds.
He wrote some great fiction, but he was a diehard Malthusian. These people really believed. It was actually a very popular thing. That we're talking like right after Darwinism. We're talking about just before the Nazis. We're talking about the Kaiser Wilhelm Foundation. It was a very popular position to be in favor of social hygiene, as they called it, which was, anybody with birth defects shouldn't be able to reproduce. Anybody of the lower races or inferior mentally, any of those kind of people shouldn't reproduce, because we want, a cleaner, better human race going forward.
Oof.
Yeah. So feminism was instrumental in that. That's actually where the birth control pill came from as well. Margaret Sanger, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Kaiser Wilhelm Foundation, and a lot of Nazi scientists are the ones who started synthesizing human hormones to make birth control pills. And the way they sold that was they said, look, we know abortion's very unpopular. People don't like it. It's a very terrible thing that we have to do. We have to do it because we don't want all these babies. Ugh. But, if you let us have the birth control pill and you make it like widely available and socially acceptable, abortion will be a thing of the past. Nobody will need one ever again. That's how it was marketed and sold to the world. And it sounds right. It sounds reasonable. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better just to prevent all the pregnancies and then we don't have to worry about abortions. But here we are in 2026. You can get you can get birth control pills for $4 at Walmart. You can go down to your local health department in your county and get them for free if you're under a certain income status. And we still have, well, at least before they overturned Roe v. Wade, we still had about 1 million abortions a year in this country, even with the shot and the pill and all these types of birth control and more education than we've ever had. That was the other thing when I was in school, right? More sex ed, and then no more teen pregnancies. That hasn't panned out whatsoever. It turns out that if you take all the stigma away from sexual activity, you tell everybody premarital sex is actually good. You gotta get in there and figure out how things work before you get married. You don't want to just get married. That's weird. We still have 1 million abortions a year. We still have Plan B pills and things like this. There's been more babies aborted in the last century than all the men that have been killed in all the wars of the 20th century, like far and away.
Oof.
Yeah, it's crazy. So,
the Gloria Steinem CIA thing is nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah,
because the real tinfoil hat people want to think that the CIA has been involved in every single social aspect, including like the rock and roll movement of the 1960s, and there seems to be some evidence.
Yeah.
And when you see like how far the tentacles actually go, and then you see it like in feminism, you go, well, wait, what was she? Was what?
Yeah.
So explain.
So Gloria Steinem was recruited out of Smith College in the 50s. It was an all-women's college. She already had some pretty like left progressive kind of feminist leanings, and this is generally how this works. If you want to know how the left has taken over academia, I have a whole paper about this on my Substack, how NGOs and universities have just swung completely left, and they have just captured the university systems. They do it this way. So they recruit her out of Smith College. You know, she's writing papers about women's rights and feminism and stuff like that. And they go, she's pretty good at this. So they approach her and they say, we're willing to offer you something called the Chester Bowles Fellowship. And she goes, what's that? And they're like, well, it doesn't really exist. We made it up for you. Because what we're going to do is we're going to give you this fellowship. We're going to send you to India. We're going to send you to Europe. We're going to have you tour the whole United States, do a media tour, start a magazine, to promote women's rights, the things that you believe in. So it's a little more sneaky than everybody sitting in a dark back room and like plotting some evil plan to like make America into a feminist hellhole. It was more like, we're trying to promote liberal democracy around the world because it's part of the Cold War. You're really good at this feminism stuff. And if we can get a lot of women voting, and if we can get them into universities and mobilize them as a political group, just similar to what they did with black people. Convince blacks that you're all oppressed, you're all victims, and radicalize them and make them permanent Democrat voters. Same thing that they did with feminism. So they sent her to India, where she worked for the Ford Foundation, again, the same people who created gender studies. Learned a lot of interesting things over there in India. Not sure what's going on in there. I said in my book, it's like a hotbed of like theosophy and like crazy, like the Dalai Lama, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in India. I don't know why they send everybody there, and then when they leave India, they go and promote this weird stuff. That's what they do. So they sent her to like Eastern Europe to a youth festival where she promoted feminism, and this is at the time where the Eastern Bloc is still communist and it's hard to get in there. But as a woman, this is something traditionally they always do with women. It's very easy to sneak female spies or propagandists in rather than men because they're less suspicious. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, oh, she just wants to promote education for women. And they're like, fine, she can come, I guess, whatever. So she's promoting feminism there. Then she comes here. She's undercover at the Playboy Mansion, weirdly.
Undercover?
Yeah, she like people didn't know she was CIA at this point. She was like a Playboy bunny for a little while.
What?
Yeah, she was at the Hugh Hefner Mansion. And
undercover as a Playboy bunny?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, to promote. She was kind of hot for like back in the day in the 70s, late 60s. She was kind of hot. Well, compared to the other feminists we had to choose from. Who else did we have? Betty Friedan. I don't know if you've ever seen her.
Is there any photos of Gloria Steinem at the mansion?
Yeah, there's a picture of her in the bunny costume.
Oh, we gotta see that.
Yeah, maybe Jamie can pull it up.
Well, yeah, there's video too. I'm trying to see which is better.
Yeah, so, and that was to promote the sexual liberation stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, women can...
For the CIA.
Yeah.
That didn't... Well, yeah, it doesn't say for the CIA here, but
Yeah.
Undercover Playboy bunny. It's an